February the 13th. Do you have any commentary, council, regarding the executive session minutes for February the 13th? Hearing none. Any action on those minutes?
Make a motion to accept the minutes for the executive minutes for February 13th.
A motion on the floor by Mr. Dow to accept the minutes of February the 13th. Do I have a second to Mr. Dow's motion?
Second Dow's motion.
I have a second by Mr. Cataldo. Ms. Conley, may I roll call, please?
Mr. Cataldo.
Yes.
Mr. Belton.
Yes.
Mr. Dow.
Yes.
Mayor Donnelly.
Yes. Moving on to the executive session minutes for February the 23rd. Any commentary of council regarding the executive minutes of February the 23rd?
That has the meeting ending at 9:15. Didn't it go later than 9:15, like 10:15? That was the second executive session.
No, I don't think so.
It did.
It ended, I think I had got it down 9:20 actually on mine.
Really? That's the one I thought, oh, I thought it was 9:15. No, it didn't. Make a motion to accept the minutes, executive minutes for February 23rd.
A motion on the floor by Mr. Dow accepting the minutes, the executive session minutes of February 23rd.
Second.
I have a second by Mr. Belton to Mr. Dow's motion. Ms. Conley, may I roll call, please?
Mr. DeFacto.
Yes.
Mr. Belton.
Yes.
Mr. Dow.
Yes.
Mayor Donnelly.
Yes. Next on the agenda, the executive session minutes for February the 27th. Any commentary or action of council regarding the executive minutes of February the 27th? Hearing none, any action for the minutes?
Mayor, I'll motion to accept the executive meeting minutes from 27th of February.
Mr. Belton has a motion for acceptance of the minutes for the executive session on February the 27th. I have a second to Mr. Belton's motion.
I'll second Dow's motion.
Seconded by Mr. DeFalco. Ms. Conley, may I roll call, please?
Mr. DeFalco.
Yes.
Mr. Belton.
Yes.
Mr. Dow.
Abstain.
Deputy Mayor Donnelly.
Yes. Next item on our agenda this evening is the approval of minutes of regularly scheduled meetings, meetings. First up being the council meeting of February 23rd.
Excuse me, Mr. Mayor, I would like to table these minutes. There's some revisions after consultation with the solicitor.
Very good. Ms. Hoffman has recommended that we table those minutes. Time will be set later after consultation with legal counsel. Do you have any questions to Ms. Hoffman or the recommendation? Hearing none, we'll move that we table those minutes. Is the next meeting fine, Ms. Hoffman?
Yes.
To a meeting of March 26th. Ordinance this evening on first reading. Ordinance number 2012.
You have to do February
27.
No more.
I'm sorry. Minutes for February the 27th. Any questions, commentary of council regarding minutes of February the 27th? Hearing none, any action for the minutes of February 27th?
Mayor, I make the motion to accept the minutes of February 27th regular scheduled meeting.
Mr. Belton has a motion to accept the minutes of February 27th regularly scheduled meeting. Do I have a second to Mr. Belton's motion? Second Mr. Belton's motion. Ms. Conley, may I roll call, please?
Mr. DeFacto.
Yes.
Mr. Belton.
Yes.
Mr. Dow.
Abstain.
Mayor Donnelly.
Yes. All right, I don't see any more minutes on there. We have an ordinance on first reading this evening, which is ordinance number 2012-07. This is an ordinance we regularly come across this time of year to exceed the municipal budget appropriation of 2.5%, increasing it to 3.5%, and establishing a capped bank. Any questions of council regarding 2012-7? Hearing none, is there any action on the ordinance?
Make a motion to approve ordinance number 2012-37 first reading.
A motion by Mr. DeFalco to move ordinance number 2012-07 on its first reading. Second to Mr. DeFalco. Second on the floor by Mr. Bell. Ms. Conlon, may I have a roll call?
Mr. DeFalco?
Yes.
Mr. Bell?
Yes.
Mr. Dowd?
No.
Mayor Donnelly?
Yes. For this evening, we have ordinances on second reading. These ordinances will also have a public hearing, as is required by law, starting with ordinance number 2012-01, which is an ordinance of vacation and any public rights to and of certain property, more commonly known as Bank Avenue, adjacent to the virtual Memorial Hospital campus.
Mr. Mayor, for the record, taking question stepping down in favor of Mr. Serling, the special counsel on this.
Thank you, Mr. Guest. Welcome, Mr. Serling.
Thank you, Mayor.
We'll move forward this evening. With no commentary to open up from council, I will open up the public portion of the meeting. No commentary at this point from council.
I still have one question that I just want to make sure it's stated for the record, and Mr. Surley, maybe you can make sure that this is accurate. There is one house that's still using the end-of-spout spring to get to and from. That is under an agreement with the hospital, is that correct?
Yes, and the council, Bill, you want to address that? Bill Highland, the council for the hospitals here this evening.
Mr. Highland, if you would just state your name and firm.
My name is William Highland. I am an attorney. I represent Virtua Hospital. That property is actually owned by Virtua, and there is a resident in it currently awaiting construction of their home. They will be able to utilize the residence before anything actually ever occurs with the property, so they will not be denied access to a public street. But just to be clear, that is a property that is already owned by Virtua.
Okay, all right. I just wanted to, for the record, make sure that house can be accessed without application. That was it from me.
Thank you, Mr. Bell. Thank you, Mr. Highland. Anything further of council before we proceed with the public hearing? Hearing none, we'll move to a public hearing on ordinance number 2012-01 regarding the vacation of Bank Avenue by Mount Holly Township to Virtual Memorial Hospital. Excuse me, to Virtual. We'll start on the right side of the room against the wall, moving back along the wall if anybody has any commentary. Mr. Dunn, your name and your address for the record.
William Dunn, 10 Meadow Lane, Mount Holly.
You would stand, Mr. Dunn, please?
My only concern is you people have not contacted me. You know, all of the eastern part of South Avenue and Spout Spring and the rest of the area is serviced through Bank Avenue with sewage. So we'll certainly have to have some working agreement to perfect the sewer line.
Thank you, Mr. Dunn.
Is there a provision or something for easements for any utilities, now that you mentioned that one? Are there any major utilities that are?
You can't address something you don't know anything about.
Well, I'm sure they've put some thought into it.
I'm sure they have.
When we proceed with the public comment, Mr. Highland, we'll get to that portion after we're finished with public comment. Thank you. I apologize. I was just taking detailed notes. Anybody else along the wall wishing to comment on ordinance 2012-08?
Al Hollowell, 121 Evergreen Street. Just a quick question. You said Bank Avenue, but is it other streets also, or what's the actual area defined as?
The ordinance itself is listing Bank Avenue and the adjacent, well, the adjacent properties are already owned by Virtual.
Bank, Scout Spring, Greenwood. Okay, thanks.
Anybody else along the way? Seeing none, I'll move to the medium portion of the room for the first row.
My name is
Good evening.
My name is Louis Lopez from Mount Hardy Gardens. This location where you're talking about, it's like the corner with the emergency exit of the hospital is?
Bank Avenue.
Yeah, that's what you're talking about, right?
Madison Avenue and dead ends into the woods.
Oh, we're trying to do, trying to build like a property in there, or?
This is releasing the street itself, Bank Avenue, from the township to Virtua, so that Virtua will be able to proceed and utilize it within their redevelopment and their master plan and going forth with their expansion.
Thank you for.
Any of the maintenance or anything from the township on that piece of property.
Thank you for the understand.
You're welcome. Thank you. First row. Second row for comment on 2012-1. To the third row. Excuse me. Moving back to the fourth row. And finally to the fifth row. Anybody wishing to comment? Seeing none, we'll close the public portion of the meeting with regards to ordinance number 2012-01, the vacation of Bank Avenue. And further comment from council. Mr. Belton, you had
Yeah, I guess if there was any consideration for any major utilities that are underneath of those roads, have there been any discussions about what to do with those utilities?
Well, I could probably answer part of it. On section 2 of the ordinance, in terms of the rights of utility companies are protected. And under section 2, it doesn't, on section 3, the township shall retain a continuing easement to own, operate, and maintain the existing utility with any of the described rights of ways. If you wanted to add the Mount Holly Sewer Authority as in that as well, it would be a minor amendment to do that if you wanted to clarify that. If there is an issue, I don't know that there is.
Well, without knowing the engineering or the location of those utilities, I mean, we wouldn't know whether it was necessary or not, or what their permanent structures were going to cover.
Well, it won't be covering, they're just vacating. Any construction would have to be approved by the planning board in the future. So, they wouldn't be able to build the top and easement if the planning board would have absolute control over that in terms of building. This is just vacating the property. There's vacant land, basically. So any future construction would be subject to municipal approvals. If that gives you any comfort. I don't know, Mr. Dunn wasn't particularly clear about the
Well, I don't think you know until you get into it.
Well, I'm only telling you that Bank Avenue is the source of all the sewage from Bank and the hospital, east and south, out to Route 38 and South Avenue and the Spout Spring area, that developed area. South Avenue turns in and comes out Bank to Madison. The main line does not come down south to Madison. I mean, it can be worked out, but I just want to be on record of saying that there is a concern.
Well, and I know before any projects of this magnitude goes before planning board, we do,
check easements.
right, and write a letter to Mr. Dunn or the MUA asking that the project be able to move forward prior to.
Mr. Holland?
Mayor, thank you. To be clear, Mr. Dunn, the portion of Bank Avenue that you just described is not part of the Bank Avenue that's being vacated. It's an unpaved portion further up. In the broader sense, when Virtua begins to do its planning, obviously they will meet with the authority, as they will with all utilities, to identify all the existing lines. As Mr. Serlin has said, the rights to maintain and continue those lines is preserved under the ordinance. If there's a necessity to relocate it, obviously that has to be done in conjunction with the utility, and that will all be done in the course of the site plan application once that engineering is completed. Plans, of course, will be submitted to all the utilities that will need to review it, and those matters will be worked out. So the hospital is certainly fully aware of that. But just to be clear, the portion that you were just describing at Bank Avenue is not part of that that's being vacated.
Thank you, Mr. Ryan.
Mayor, if I just may, several representatives from Virtua have come this evening, not to say anything, but just to indicate our support. We thank you very much for the council proceeding, hopefully to adopt this evening. This is obviously a very necessary first step to the project, and the hospital is looking very much forward to submitting the detailed plans to the planning board in the coming months and undergoing hearings and review, and I'm sure the public will be interested as well. So thank you very much. If there are any other questions, the Virtua representatives here are happy to answer them.
Very good, thank you, Mr. Ryan. Do we have any further questions or commentary from council regarding the ordinance? Do we have any action of council on the ordinance?
Mayor, I offer for approval of second reading ordinance 2012-1.
A motion on the floor by Mr. Belton, approving ordinance 2012-01 on its second and final reading. I was second Mr. Belton's motion.
I'll second that motion.
I have a second by Mr. DeFalco. Ms. Conover, may I have a roll call, please?
Mr. DeFalco?
Yes.
Mr. Belton?
Yes.
Mr. Dow?
Yes.
Mayor Donnelly?
Yes. Ordinance number 2012-01 has been approved on its second and final reading, subject to publication and in action 20 days after publication.
Thank you. Good evening.
Thank you, Mr. Shannon. Welcome back, Mr. Gassion. Moving forward this evening, we have another ordinance on second reading, which is ordinance number 2012-02. Which amends the code of the Township of Mount Holly entitled the Preservation Commission within the township. Do you have any commentary of council prior to public portion?
Kathy, is this ordinance, I just realized, I don't know if the application was submitted with us the first time we read this. Is this the application that the applicant is now filling out when they do a historic preservation
It will be.
packet? This will be the new application?
Yes.
Okay. Now, I don't see on here anywhere for an applicant's attorney or anything like that. Has that, well, other than if you're acting as the applicant's capacity, either owner, agent, architect, contractor, or attorney, is it still required that businesses have an attorney?
Yes. This, just to clarify, Mr. Belton, the ordinance itself is actually simply amending your current ordinances to give the commission the authority to adopt this application. So what's attached is their draft at this stage. It's still subject to being refined. So it could change slightly, but they want to do a C, generally where they're heading with.
Also guarantees them, gives them the authority to set in place the procedures of review and approval.
Right, yeah. And they had much of that authority already. This just clarifies a couple points of it.
Well, anything further?
I thought we were trying to streamline the process to make it a little bit easier. And that's what I didn't see anything in here that changed dramatically from the first applications that I was accustomed to seeing, and that's where I thought our attempt was to make this a little easier for the homeowners and businesses alike. I'm not sure that.
No, that's the process that you're speaking of is the fast track that we did as an experiment for signs, and that gets reviewed quicker than a routine meeting. that's not what this is. This is just the application.
There is a provision in your ordinance, like, as there is with the planning board, where the commission can waive certain